Good morning, everybody. My name is Tyler Finken. I'm the Health Marketing Director over at Western Marketing. Certainly honored to be able to host this webinar with the Mogo Maker himself, Mr. Josh Malang with ProDash. I first met Josh, it was sometime in 2020. I think it was the third quarter of 2020. And he and I got to talking about some of the programs and everything that he had going. And it really piqued my interest because, a lot of the stuff that we work on over here at Western Marketing, we had identified a lot of the problems and everything that agents and agency owners run into. And everything that Josh was talking about was everything that we had been talking about over the last few months or years or everything. And so we really connected, we really hit it off. And we decided to partner with Josh because, he had answers to a lot of the questions we had, whether it was succession planning for agents, the service model, tech platforms and everything like that. He was building all these programs, and it really meshed and it really fit with what we were doing here at Western Marketing. So I'm really excited for today's webinar. We're going to focus on the agency building side of it, and Josh is going to go over a lot of information here today that I think a lot of you are really going to love. You're really going to understand that building an agency is not as easy as it looks, and it's a little bit more complicated than just going out and hiring a bunch of people and bringing them on in your downline. So Josh, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick it off here, and we'll get this thing started.
Sweet. Thanks, Ty, man. I found my pen. There we go. Got my little Surface pen. So we're going to go over, let me back up a little bit, just a little background on myself. So I got into business when I was a ripe old 22. Started with a captive company, built a successful career there as an individual producer, got into one of their kind of top clubs. Did that for a couple of years, got into a position of leadership, and really in a structured environment where there was support, structure, and resources available, I was able to build a team in a short amount of time to a couple dozen producers in about a year and a half. Really pretty successful. We're doing about 600,000 in commission at like a 50% agent level within that short period of time. So I had some pretty good success with that. Went out on my own and started Malang Financial Group in June of 2008. And that was really set up to be an independent agency building firm. So, the objective was really to provide a lot of those structures that we had at the agency that I started with, and really built that. And we ended up at our peak having around 18 producers. We ended up with about 6,000 retail clients at one point. And so that worked really well. After building that for about a dozen years, really got to a point where I was trying to figure out something else. I felt like I'd kind of outgrown my company a little bit. I'd outgrown my my sort of, I would say, tolerance for that type of space that I was in, and was really trying to identify what we had built in terms of assets at the company, what we could do to get to another level. So that really created this whole situation, which is now ProDash. So what we ended up doing was taking some of the technology that we built, some of the proprietary things that we built internally, started peeling that out and turning it into a SaaS platform, which is now this ProDash CRM that we have. One of the other things that we did was, as we're out talking to people about ProDash, we realized that we had some infrastructure in place that not every senior market agency or individual producer had in terms of our staff and our scale. And so what we're able to do is create this service model, which allowed for us to proactively manage the retention, upselling, and cross-selling of people's clients for them, and really free them up to be as productive as they want, whether it's through agency building or through building an individual practice. And we're able to do that with people's branding. And so that's been a pretty interesting thing. That led us into our branding and web and SEO kind of markets and models that we built. So, and then we started having conversations with Tyler and the people over at Western Marketing about some of the things that we had identified as challenges that a lot of people had, and as he said, it was a direct fit. It was a direct hit. Like, we sunk his battleship. It was really like, oh man, those are all of the things that our people are talking about as well, and they're calling us and saying, can you buy our practice? How do we get to the next level? And it's like, as awesome as Western Marketing is, in the things that they do well, they just aren't in retail. They're not seeing end user clients like you guys. They're not in the same type of business. So some of the things that people need to get to that next level and beyond are things that they just don't have and they're not going to have. And so we found that this kind of three-legged stool approach to, a producer or an agency builder's vision, and Western Marketing is a great senior market IMO partner. And with what we're putting together with ProDash and Mogul Maker with our products and services and consulting, it really is kind of a deadly combination. So we've had a tremendous amount of success over the last, really, Tyler, 5, 6 weeks since we've been doing some of these webinars.
Yep, absolutely. And it's kind of crazy the amount of success that we've been having. I mean, you and I both knew that this was going to be big when we started this, Josh. And I think the overall feeling that we get from everybody and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, and people are super excited to be able to work with you. Some of the programs that you're offering, and it's just another value-added thing that the Western Marketing's offering to our agents and everything as well. So really, really looking forward to today's webinar and continuing that success.
I love it, man. I appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun. Anytime you can be around positive people, make money, and have fun, it's the ultimate combination. And that's one of the cool things that we have about being in our business, where we can really create value for people and make good money and hopefully have a lot of fun along the way. So first thing I'm going to share, I'm going to go over 3 key principles here. And let me start drawing on my little board here. One sec. You're all in trouble. You have to pay attention because you're not going to be able to read anything I write. So you need to kind of need to pay attention. So the first thing we're going to cover is a marketing strategy and why that's critical as a agency builder. Number 2 is a career path and why that's key from a recruiting, training, and development standpoint. And then the third thing is the time versus money equation. And that's the old making sure you're not. I got a really great friend of mine that I've been friends with for a long time. He's been a mentor of mine. He actually is on this call. He sneaked onto this call. And he told me famously, and I repeat it every week, you can have my time or my money, but you can't have both. And I tell you what, if you end up with a situation where you're giving both to a producer or to a client, that's not any fun for you, and it's a whole lot of fun for them. You got to do what you can to balance that equation out. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But marketing strategy, career path, and time versus money. And then we'll get into some of the ProDash product, services, and consulting offerings, kind of first half and second half. So we'll get into that. So here's why I want to talk about marketing strategy. So as we're talking to a lot of people, on a weekly basis that come on these calls, they go through kind of our pipeline and where we determine if there's anything we do that can add value to them. And then they end up talking to me about kind of some of the strategy they have for their business. One thing I find over and over again is people, they get to a very successful level in their practice where they built, a significant income. They've got a lot of time and money freedom, and then they want to start hiring a whole bunch of people. And I asked them the question, what happened? You're tired of the money or the freedom? Which one of those things were you sick of? And so, people don't know that to get to the next level in the business, there's other routes that you can go other than just hiring people. And there's a couple of types of hiring people. One of those types of hiring people is hiring just downline LOA agents, or rather just downline contracted producing agents directly with the carrier. So we built that model for a while. That really is a model where you work for the people that you have in your organization. You work for them. Your job is to provide the structure, support, and resources to help them build their business. And again, the key is helping them build their business. And that's really a wholesale model that if you're a wholesaler, that's what you do. You provide those structures and support and resources to help people build their business. But when we're a retail agency and we're dealing directly with clients, that recruiting model is not really as conducive to immediate success as maybe some other strategies. So if you're strictly in a wholesaling space, you're trying to become an FMO or something like that and provide a lot of those structures for people and really not in a retail basis, a direct to client basis, that's a perfectly good model. But if your model is really to build agents, to recruit people into the business with the recruiting and training and development they need to become successful, that contract level, where you're putting people at street level and you're at GA or whatever, it's really ripe with a lot of challenges. And so we want to kind of uncover some of those. The other model is really where you can bring on a license only agent, pay them, have enough revenue come in to pay them and give them the training and support that they need over the first year to really give everything you have to them in terms of helping them build the business. And really at that point, they're kind of building your business. And that's ultimately when people think about recruiting, they're thinking, how can I grow my business to the next level? They're not thinking in terms of how can I give my business to someone else and help them build their business. That's really not a great equation when you've given all the time, energy, and money into building your individual practice. So the first thing we have to kind of check off there is a marketing strategy. And we really advocate this as kind of a phase one for people, because if you want to start hiring people, you really need to have your personal marketing strategy down cold, okay? And what I mean by that is you need, number one, the first thing you need to do, and I'm gonna scroll up here a little bit. The first thing you need to do is really fill your calendar, right? Monday through Friday. You know, if the goal is to see, have 15 appointments every week with people you've never met, having conversations with them, selling the different products that you work in, whether it's, I know you guys are doing a great job with the Medicare products, MedSup, MEPD, ancillary stuff, as well as with the life and annuity. But if these are different products that you're working in, the goal initially is to get 15 appointments a week with people to talk to them about these different things. And then once you start to get 15 appointments a week, the goal is really to get into higher and higher dollar figure sales. And then the next thing from there is you really want to start filling your 15 or however many appointments you're running on a weekly basis with higher quality candidates, higher quality sources, right? So if you're filling this off of like direct mail, that's great. And that's a good way to get started. However, once you get to the point where you're making 80 or 100 grand a year, the type of sales that you're getting off of that in terms of the products you're selling are going to be not as great as the value of your time at that point. And then the other thing is there's a lot of work on the front end to be done on the direct mail side in terms of qualifying them, getting a hold of people, getting in front of people, going through a fact-finding process, identifying whether they have any needs or concerns you can help them with, making a recommendation, confirming it, closing, so on and so forth. So there's a lot that goes into that. Direct mail is very on the front end. I'm a huge fan of it. We built a ton of business in our agency off of it. But the point is with that, there's a lot of work to be done. It's really good, high activity. It's really a high volume, low quality play. Okay. So as you fill your calendar, the first thing is fill your calendar. The second thing is to get higher buyer intent or further along in the sales process. So from there, obviously referrals is a great thing to have. Referrals typically let people are coming at you from referrals, guys, they know who you are, they know what you do, they know why they want to talk to you. It's not as difficult to get a hold of them, get in front of them, go through a fact finder and go through this process. They're a lot further along the sales sort of funnel, if you will. So if you have, 15 appointments a week of direct mail, you have a lot of time that you still need to invest in building out those prospects. If you have a full week's worth of appointments off for referrals, it's a lot easier to do that. Some of the other things are, and then I'm going to share with you our kind of marketing strategy we built. Some of the other things are seminars. I know some of the Western marketing people have done a phenomenal job in seminars, and that would be a really great resource for you guys to ping. I know, Tyler, some of the people you work with in your guys as a group are crushing it with seminars, particularly with Medicare, the Medicare 101 seminars, and working with HR departments and some other stuff like that. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the things that we offer to our contracted agents is we've got these seminar programs built, and they're all ready and done for you. We've even got some seminars to where if you're in like the annuity space or managing money or something like that, we can actually do seminars like that. We can get your Medicare clients in a room, give you the presentation. We'll actually even send a guy out and do the first couple presentations for you if you want, and help set appointments, actually go run those appointments with you, learn how to sell annuities. We can also do that for, like Josh said, Medicare, life insurance, anything you want. So all that stuff is already built out. And if anybody has any questions or anything on those types of deals after this webinar, feel free to get a hold of us, and I'd love to chat with you more about that.
So, those are, again, seminars are things where, you're starting to turn the table from coming at people to people coming at you. And that's really where, you get a little bit further down that sales pipeline where you don't have to worry about so much as the building of the credibility, getting a hold of people. It's a lot easier to get a hold of people and things like that. So if you've got that same 15 appointments a week and you're getting further and further down, and you're getting more into the, higher quality, but maybe necessarily lower quantity, that's fine. But at the beginning, people are like, well, I'm not gonna, one of the greatest stories I ever have is, when you're talking to the guy who's like been in the business for 30 years, he's super successful, he's making millions of dollars, he's working 10 hours a week, and you talk to me, you're like, so what would you do? Like, how would you build your business today? And the old boy's like, you know what I do today? The only people I talk to are referrals. And the only thing I do is have them come in and talk to me in the office. I wouldn't leave the office and I wouldn't talk to anybody unless they're referrals. It's like, well, that's cool, man. So if you do that right now, then yeah, you'd be in the business for about 8 minutes and then you'd be out. So it's like, that's a great story. And certainly that would be the ideal way, but you have to build to that point, right? So some of these higher volume, lower sort of quality things are really what fill your calendar to get you into that activity. Activity really is what moves the needle here. And then you can get into more and more quality. So I'm going to share with you our marketing plan that we built, just to kind of give you an idea of what this thing will look like. And then let me help you relate that to the agency building structures that we're talking about here. Get a new share.
Josh, I would really love to take a screenshot of that last screen you had up there so I can remember everything you wrote on there. I mean,
it'll come back. It'll come back. I said you got to pay attention, man. I could send you a PDF of this. You're still not gonna be able to read the damn thing.
There you go.
So this is our marketing strategy with our retail firm. So we come out and put together a new associate launch party, and this is if you're working with people in the family market, that part particular. Then we had a lead vault. So I don't know how many people have ordered direct mail leads and then basically threw them away after they couldn't get a hold of people or they sold them. We found that is a tremendous asset, particularly if you're building people in the business. So I want you guys to look at this marketing strategy from the standpoint of, if you've got to the point where you're working some of this stuff, where you've got 15 plus appointments on a weekly basis that you're crushing sales, in and out, and generating significant revenues for yourself. And then you want to start recruiting people. You can start recruiting people when you have the money to pay them to help them develop their business. And then you make them a license only agent, you give them a base plus, a percentage of the commission, but people are building your business rather than just hiring people and putting them on a contract level and helping them build their business. That's a wholesale strategy. And unless you have the infrastructure to be able to compete on a wholesale level like Western Marketing does, that's a nasty game. I mean, there's a million people out there that are trying to compete for people's overrides, and you're going to get your lunch eaten for you by a Western Marketing if that's all you're trying to do. The only value you provide is, you pay for their business cards. That's just not going to work. So if you're actually wanting to get into the business of agency building and recruiting, I'd really advocate for you to be able to not do it until you have your marketing completely built out. You've got your appointments rocking and rolling, you're crushing it, and you can afford to pay somebody some money to come in and give them a good living, where the first couple of years they can make 50, 60, 70 grand a year, and then, 100 plus after three or 4 or 5 years on a W-2 chassis with, a salary plus bonuses and stuff like that. So I want you to think of this from the standpoint of, here's how you can do that from a marketing perspective. So some of these lower level resources, once you get to the point where you're making 100 or 200-300 grand a year, you can't afford to work old leads that didn't answer the phone, right? So those are things that take too much time on the front end. You can't afford to reach out to inactive clients or orphan clients or that kind of thing. You're making too much money to be able to waste your time on that. So the next level of things is really some of these online lead programs that are, higher buyer intent that come to you kind of knowing who you are and what you do. The next thing is direct mail. We also built out an entire Turning 65 campaign and program. And guys, this is not, hey, let's get a list of people who are turning 65 and look at it for a while and hope that people call us. It's like, you can build a program around that and have a ton of success. We got over 5%. Actually, we got, when we're doing this, we got 5% in the first month, 2.5% in the second month, and 2.5% in the third month off of the list that we had. So we generated about a 10% rate of return on the direct mail that we did when we built out a specific Turning 65 program. It wasn't like mail them something and hope, and cross your fingers. When you build out an entire platform around it, you can have some pretty good success. So these are things that if you are at or above these things, those 15 appointments that you have or whatever on your calendar on a weekly basis are pretty productive. Your average sale is getting up into that $800 to $1,000 sale, where you're not just selling med subs at a $300 average sale and MAPDs. You're getting up the point, Tyler, where, on life insurance, your average case, when you're in the senior market, your client's 72 on average. Your average case is around $4,000 or $5,000 in target premium if you're doing it right. Your average annuity is about 80 grand if you're doing it right. So you're getting into those $2, $3, $4,000 commission sales, which really drive up the average of your average sale, including all the Medicare stuff you're doing, which you absolutely want to do. But that balances it out to where you may have an average case of $800 to $1,200. Well, now if you have 15 appointments a week and your average sale is $1,500, and you're closing most of those because they're further along the buyer intent schedule, you're making pretty good money. So then you can afford to start hiring people to do some of this other stuff that you don't have time for or you can't afford to do. Okay. Really where you want to be is up here where you're executing on some firm level marketing results. And by that, I'm talking about like some joint ventures, like some things that some of your producers are doing, Tyler, are awesome. They're contacting HR departments at different companies, huge companies that have 400 or 500 employees. They are the people who are coming off of the group. They're getting referred to these individuals. Some things like, like at hospitals and things like that. One of the people that we're working with who works with you guys actually was able to kind of step in and take over for SHIP at a local facility. So there's some really things that you need to do that are really marketing things. There's a difference, guys, between lead generation and marketing. We're talking about like lead generation's down here, marketing's up here. These are things that are, they know who you are, what you do, and they're coming to you instead of you coming to them. So down here, we are calling on leads, are going to people. Up here, people are coming to you. So if you've built out this, some of this firm's level stuff, you've got some search engine optimization going where you've got people actually coming to you, coming to your website, coming into your office, and you're doing some seminar strategies. When you flip that to where people are coming to you, then you really can start hiring people and having them do the things where they have to go out to the client, right? So now you work on only the things that come to you. But if you want to hire people, then you go, look, I've got tons of resources from this Turning 65 program, the direct mail. The whole thing about hiring people is, guys, if you can get them in front of 10 to 15 people a week on a regular basis, they got a shot of being successful. If you cannot provide them, the resources to be able to get in front of that number of people on a weekly basis, don't hire them. Don't even hire them. They're going to fail. They're going to hate you. It's a bad deal. So the real key is really getting a marketing strategy built out to the point where you've got some incoming traffic, where you can make a living, on your own with the things that come at you in terms of at your agency level, and then start hiring people to do some of these lower level things that will be very productive for a person whose time isn't worth anything, who's brand new, who you're paying a $30,000 salary plus bonuses to. They can go ahead and run some of these orphan accounts you have, some inactive clients you have, some old leads that you have, and be perfectly productive with that. But if you're making 300 grand a year, you can't afford to do that stuff. We'll talk about time versus money. You can't afford to do it at that point. And then some of these other, more productive things in terms of the direct mail and online leads, Turning 65s, that sort of stuff can be reserved for your top producer. So I'm going to bounce off of that and into career path here in a sec. But Tyler, do you have any feedback or you want to shed any light onto this, the marketing strategy?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head there, Josh. You've had the ability to meet with some of our top agents that have really gotten to that upper echelon, that top level that you're talking about here with the firm marketing results and everything like that. And guys, what I really want you to pay attention to is this stuff absolutely works. And we've got agents that are out there doing it right now, and we're a pretty open company. We try to help our agents as much as we can by sharing some of those ideas that our top producers, our top agencies are doing right now. And would be happy to talk to you about some of that as well. But that's what Josh is really here for, because he's had the opportunity to talk to some of those agents as well. So he knows what they're doing, obviously from his own personal experience when he's built his successful agencies and everything throughout his career. He knows what he's doing. So this is really, really important if you want to get to that next level. So definitely take advantage of this, learn everything you can on this webinar. Let's set up some time and everything afterwards to get you one-on-one with Josh. Feel free to call me or anybody at my staff as well if you want some other tips and hints and everything like that. We're just here to help, guys. We definitely want to make sure that everybody on this webinar and everybody that we work with gets to the next level.
Yeah, and once you start implementing that type of stuff, so this is really kind of in the last couple of years of our agency, we had about 10% of our business come from referrals. and close to 40% coming from existing client reviews. So, that's about 50% of the business coming from existing clients or referrals from existing clients. So if you're marketing and you're going up this marketing strategy kind of ladder, if you will, you're going to start getting more and more of that stuff. And nothing I hate more than hearing people who are like, I'm only working referrals, man. I don't do nothing else. Hey, that's cool. So what do you do for the other 39 hours a week that you've got? Because you get one referral a week, homie. Like, oh, I work for referrals. That's all I've done for 10 years. Awesome. You're putting 1,800 in premium on the books every week. Like, you need to do more. Like, that's cool and all, but like, you got to do more. If you want to make a go at this, you got to do more. You get to the point where, like a good friend of mine says, if you've got a whole entire filing cabinet full of the people you want to work with, you got a nice business built. But until then, you really got to drive up this marketing strategy. So from an agency building standpoint, you can't just throw a bunch of crap against the wall either. So when you are hiring people, you got to do it in a structured way so that you don't have people running into each other like a bunch of morons. So we can work on building out this marketing territory for people. This is one of the ones we've done in Iowa. And what we really try to do is build out the 59 to 70-year-olds for seminars, the turning 65s, and the 65 to 75-year-olds for direct mail. And we really build out these zones, and then we turn the zones into territories where we can market on an ongoing basis without people running into each other, all these different marketing levels in each one of these zones and territories. And then the key to that is, each of these individuals can focus on these higher level things while building out a team below them in some of these lower level things and stay in the same area. So we have information that we can access and really help you build out a marketing territory if you are doing an agency building strategy. And that's gonna be really key as you start to hire, 4 or 5 people, on a quarterly basis or more. You don't want people running into each other. You want to create as much efficiency as you possibly can and really be deliberate and intentional about how people are marketing in terms of going up here, as well as when they're building out their team. So this is a really invaluable resource that we can build for people as well. So the next thing you really need to do is, once you get your marketing to the point where you're seeing enough people, the right type of people, high buyer intent, high average case, and you start hiring people and building out an agency, the next thing you need to do is recruiting, training, and developing. And so having a career path is an absolutely deadly weapon to help educate people on how they can come in your business, how they can maneuver their way around and actually create a career out of it. So this is our current career path. We use this in our selection process today. So it talks about our 3 entities, our business-to-business entity, our consulting firm, and our retail business. And really the career path is educating them on where we've been, where we're at, and where we want to go. And then these are the different divisions that we have in terms of helping people figure out where they're a fit and how they can grow it. So help really building this out is key to building an agency, because you have to be able to share with somebody what the opportunity is for them to grow within your company. It's not like, I'm going to give you the highest comp on earth, and I'm going to give you an office and a phone that you're not going to have to pay for, man. And you have to pay for copies. It's like, then what? Like, you're not going to have anybody around for long. If that's your value proposition, like, think again, that's just not going to work. So, you need to be able to articulate how people can develop inside your business and stick with you and grow for the long term. So we build out a company overview, which has our mission, our core values, as well as kind of what our core focus is as an organization. So that's super important to identify that stuff. The next thing is really the blueprint. So this to us is our vision. We've got a 1-year plan, 2-year strategy, and 3-year picture. We have it broken down by revenues, by number of customers, and being able to communicate that, like, this is a growing concern. This is something that's you're going to want to be a part of. This is not something that this is the maximum version of it that there's ever going to be. So being able to let people know, hey, with your help, with your work, we are going to together build something special, and you can be a part of that. That's really the key to recruiting. It's like, not only is this an awesome opportunity as an industry, but you're going to provide the support and structure and resources for them to help grow their career here. And they can be a part of something special as you're growing it as well. So the blueprint's really key. And then we have for sales support, our B2B sales, B2C sales and support, individual little kind of career paths. So we go from associate, which is an hourly position, to coordinator, to specialist, what their key elements are, what the type of things they're doing as far as their day-to-day activity. Once they prove themselves at level 1, they can get to level 2, they can get to level 3. If somebody's a specialist, they can either move up as a specialist into higher ticket items. Like, for example, on the B2C side, they can go from ancillary and final expense to core Medicare to life and annuity. So if somebody is winning in these basic products that don't require additional certifications and licenses, we'll go ahead and move them into the things that are a little bit more complicated. And then we can move them into the things where, if they're not doing a great job, they might be able to put someone in a worse spot than they found them if they're not careful, right? So, you're not going to sell somebody too much final expense or dental vision hearing or a hospital indemnity. You're not going to hurt anybody with that, but if you 1035 somebody's life policy out of something that they maybe should have kept, that could end up being a bad deal. So we have people move up from associate to coordinator to specialist. And then there's really two ways to elevate from that point, either through bigger ticket things in terms of products, or and again, we go back to, if your schedule is full of high buyer intent type of activities, then the only way to make more money is to start getting time. And you get time by either selling bigger stuff, or you get it by getting into a leadership position. And either way, from an agency owner standpoint, you want to be able to have a couple options for people. So some people are not manager people, which is fine. They can elevate through creating additional product types and that sort of thing. So somebody asked a question, Joe J, where can you hire somebody without a license? Definitely in this associate and coordinator spot. Our associates are really just fronters. They're on the phone. They're basically driving people to our coordinators. Our coordinators are fact finding. They're basically saying, hey, here's who we are. Here's what we do. Here's a couple areas. We're just trying to see what sort of areas that you have that we could educate you in, see if we can help you. The specialist is really the licensed, certified, experienced people that are actually selling insurance. So great question. So they can either elevate as a specialist, or they can get into a position of leadership. So another fatal flaw people make is they see somebody who's a great producer and they throw them directly into management. That's the quickest way to get somebody to leave the business. If you're really successful and you're a great salesperson, it's probably because you're a great salesperson. And great salespeople tend to be total selfish, people who aren't good at details. Great managers tend to be selfless people who are great at details. So it's kind of the opposite temperament. So if somebody's a great producer, that does not make them a great manager. As a matter of fact, it's a very high likelihood that they'll never be a successful manager. And vice versa. If you have somebody who is a average or above average producer, who's got a great attitude, who's about the team, who's trying to always help, who is attentive to things like, hey, how can we provide better training so people get a better foot forward, or, how do we measure these numbers more effectively? They may be somebody who's a leadership prospect, but unless somebody can succeed as a specialist and do the actual job, I'm not trying to duplicate people who suck at their job to teach other people to suck at their job, right? John Maxwell said, if you can have somebody do something 80% as good as you can delegate it to them, which invertly means if you have somebody who you're training to do what you do, they're probably only going to be about 80% as good as you. So if you're like a 5 on a 10 scale of, an effective producer, I'm going to have you hiring a bunch of 4 on a 10 scale effective producers. No, thanks. That ain't going to work for me. So, somebody's got to become a competent salesperson before they can teach people how to become competent salespeople, and then take on some of those roles of training, development, recruiting, and marketing. So that's kind of my story in the career path. So, number one really is, thank you, building out as a personal producer a marketing strategy. Number two is really getting to the point where you are focusing on recruiting and training and developing. You guys, this takes a lot of infrastructure. It takes a lot of resources and a lot of support to be good at it. It's one thing, again, to be a wholesaler and provide some of the licensing, contracting, commission accounting, all the carrier relationship stuff like Western Marketing does. And I would advocate that you don't want to do that job, because they've got millions of dollars worth of overhead and things like that to be good at that. Let them be good at that, right? If you want to build an agency, you should not be thinking in terms of wholesale agency and in terms of, I'm going to take a little bit of a haircut off this dude or this lady and give her what I need, because you're not taking enough money, to be honest with you. So if you only have somebody on street level and you're at GA, you can't really afford to provide all this stuff for people to help them build their business. Like my friend says, you can get my time or my money, but not both. If you're only taking a $50 or $25 a year haircut on every policy somebody sells, you can't afford to give them an office and printer and phones and all the stuff and your time and all this other things, right? If you have them at, a base salary plus bonus and they're building your business, you can give them everything you got. You can give them everything you got. You can give them all the resources you've got. You can give them your staff. You can give them everything because you can afford to, right? So on a wholesale level, it's just really difficult. So I would really advocate to get your house right. Once you get your house right, in terms of marketing and that sort of thing, you've got more things coming at you than you know what to deal with, then you can hire other people. And by doing that, they work for you rather than you working for them. And that's a big difference. That's going to be a big difference for you long term. So we talk about marketing strategy. We talk about career path. Let's talk about time versus money for a minute. You're going to get your wish thinking, and we're going to go back to the board, man. Let's get it. All right. So let's talk about time versus money. And I'm going to have a very intriguing question for you, Tyler. So if you're at a point,
hit me with it.
If you're at a point where, let's say, time versus money. Okay. So here's time, here's money. Okay. So if you're at a point where you're making a couple $100 grand a year, and I know you're probably making like 20 million a year, but 200 grand a year is $100 an hour, right? So if you're working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks out of the year, that's $100 an hour. So if you're making 50 an hour, you're making 100K a year. See how that up and down works? So if your time is worth that, you need to make sure that you're at least doing things that are $100 an hour worth of value time. Otherwise, you're going to be making less money. Okay. And so if we look at this, if you're doing things that are $200 an hour time, you're probably going to be making more money in the future if you keep doing those activities, right? You got a pretty good chance. So that's why we talk about, filling your calendar up and then filling it up with higher product levels and then also higher quality leads. If you do both of those, you're going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing. Okay. So what would it be like, Tyler? I'm going to ask you a basic question. So what if you had a downline agent who made $300,000 a year? Would that be a good thing or a bad thing? All their business went through you.
That'd be a great thing.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. In this particular case, it's the wrong answer, but it's a good answer. And so I had a downline agent that made 300 grand in his first 12 months with me. The guy came in, he had tons of health insurance clients. He worked for a captive company. And he came in, I said, I'm going to educate you on how to educate your clients and identify opportunities to create life and annuity sales with those individual clients. And with 600 clients, you're gonna make 2 or 3 times what you're making before, working a ton. So this dude came in, I set him up with a bonus program where he got, based on his production, a certain amount of a bonus on top of his commission. And so he came in and I worked with him 3 days a week for about 6 months to teach him everything he needed to know to go out and market to those people. I did not split a single app with this dude. It all went in his name, which drove him even higher and higher on my little bonus chart. So what ended up happening was this dude's making 300K a year off of commission and bonuses. I was spending about 30 hours a week with this cat, all of my time, which at the time was worth about $200 an hour. And I generated about $30,000 in net revenue off of this dude. Okay. So this guy was clear up here where I was spending a whole bunch of time with this guy and generating hardly any money whatsoever. But the dude is making 300 grand. So he's happy as a clam because basically I'm working for this dude, helping him sell stuff to his clients, giving him everything he needs, giving him all my time. And all he has to do is just kind of sit along for the ride and learn. And what happened? So I said, bro, this ain't working out for me. I can't do this. Now, if it's like this, where, I'm giving a proportionate amount of my time in terms of what I'm earning as a resource for him, everybody feels good, right? So if you get people up here, you need to fire them. If you got people down here where you're making more money than you're giving them in terms of resources, they're going to fire you. They're going to go find somebody else who will give them the time that they earn, right? If somebody's, if you've got somebody who is, making 100 grand for you in your agency and you're not doing nothing to help them, they're going to go find somebody they can make 100 grand, someone else they can make 100 grand for that's going to help them get to 200 grand. So if somebody's down here, they're going to probably fire you. If somebody's up here, you need to fire them. So what I told this guy is, look, let's get you down here closer to this bar. I'm going to have you working with one of my other managers so that they can help provide you some of the things that I'm doing with my time I can't afford to do any longer. And what happened, Tyler?
What do you mean?
Dude left.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it was like, oh, well, if I can't get your time, I'm not interested at all. So once I said, look, I'd love to continue to work with you. If there's a balance between the time that I'm investing in the revenue I'm generating as a business owner, and that's proportionate to the time you're investing in the money that you're making as an agent, everybody's happy, right? Everybody's in line. When you're completely offline like that, it's miserable. So it's not necessarily good even to have agents who are super successful. If they're super successful and it's a balanced equation, that's wonderful. Everyone wins, everybody's happy, but it's completely unbalanced one way or the other. Either they're not happy or you're not happy. So, if you're making $150,000 off their production and they're making 80 off of it, that ain't cool either, right? I mean, everything's got to be in line in terms of what you're providing for people and what they're receiving. So that's another thing you need to be conscious of as an agency owner is, look, you'll have people leave left and right if that equation is not balanced. And as you grow, the type of people that you will work with, and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, at this point in your career, even as a wholesaler, there's certain people that you're like, man, I can't really, I mean, I'm sure that guy's awesome and I'd love on him, but I can't really afford to work with that guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it's like I have to be working with people who are a certain amount of production or above personally. Now, as a company, we have people who would love to work with that person who is, you know, down here on their, you know, on their kind of value chain. But for you, there's a certain type of producer that you really have to work with, because otherwise you're costing yourself money, you're costing the business money. You know, we have to be conscious, guys. Everybody else treats their business like a business except us in our industry. You know, we treat it like a hobby. You know, we get to the point where we're making good money and then we start golfing for a living. You know, like if we treat this like a business, treat it like a law firm, man. The more, you know, people get up in the law firm ranks, you know, the higher they bill per hour. Think about that. You know, the dude that's making $500 an hour, he's making $1 million a year, is not going to be doing the, you know, the $100 an hour work. There's $100 an hour people that are thrilled to have that $100 an hour work, right? You know, if you hire somebody and you can put them on a salary and bonus, and they're making 30 grand a year and they got the potential to make 70 or 80 or 90 grand a year doing this, what we do for a living, that's amazing, right? But you can't afford to run the same leads that they're running if you're making more money, you know? So the whole principles of agency building, there's just a lot to it. So, and I'm gonna get into our product services and consulting now. You know, we'll bust through 17 minutes here. But I want you guys to take away, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes when we want to jump into things, we want to think, okay, well, this is the only way to do it. It's not the only way to do it. You know, a lot of times it's take an inventory on what you have. I got a buddy of mine's on the phone here that we're going to talk to later this afternoon that we're working closely with. But, you know, sometimes you got to take inventory on what you have. Sometimes what you have is an entire business in and of itself. Maybe you don't need 15, 20 leads a week from, you know, from a new hot, sexy lead vendor. Maybe you need to dig into your 1,000 clients that you've got in your filing cabinets and try to generate some new revenue. You know, maybe you've got existing assets that really need to be exposed and sort of grown. You know, so it's like sometimes you need somebody who's sort of the out-of-town expert with the briefcase to look at what you've got and go, hey, what's going on over there? Oh, there's a bunch of money over there. I just haven't really gone and picked it up. All right, maybe we should let's go pick that up. You know, maybe it'll be a little easier to go pick that up than to generate a whole bunch of high quantity, low quality stuff when your time is worth a lot of money. So we advocate, listen, you know, the call to action here, guys, is just get on the phone. Let's have a conversation. You know, what we're trying to do is see where people are at, what we can do to add value to them, what we can do to help them get to another level. If there's things that we can do to help, awesome, we'll have a great relationship. If not, awesome, you're going to be in good shape. So, you know, we're really just looking for people who are looking for us. So let me kind of share our little slideshow, and then we'll get you off the phone. Hopefully, go make some money. Tyler, anything to add on the career path?
No, sir. I think you definitely did a heck of a good job explaining it. What I can tell you is that I know for a fact that everything that he just went over works. Like I said, I think we started this, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, Josh, and we've actually had some agency owners that were doing great on their own. Like he said, you know, making a couple hundred, you know, 200, 300, 400 grand a year. Had some people under them, you know, they were ultra successful and everything, but they just didn't know how to get to that next level. And so we put them in touch with Josh. You know, he started doing this programs with them with this agency builder. They've kind of restructured how they've done things. They've hired a couple more people, got the right people in the right management positions, the right salespeople in the right sales positions and everything like that, and have already seen, you know, a market difference. I mean, business is running a lot smoother. The agency owners have freed up some of their time to do, you know, personal production or hiring, or, you know, if they want to go play golf, whatever it is, they've got their time back. Everything's running smoothly. So it does work. So I mean, we've had how many success stories, Josh, ever since we started doing this with some of the guys you've been working with? It's crazy.
I'm coming back over to Western Marketing on next Wednesday. We're going to do a little recognition for your internal marketers, and we're doing a little training, and we're going to talk about some of those success stories, not only with the marketers that you're working with that are working with these agency owners and producers, but also some of the producers. So we're going to come out with a whole series of kind of testimonials and stuff. But our call to action really is get on the phone. You know, you got nothing to lose. We don't charge for consultations or recommendations. If there's something we do that can provide value for you, we're going to let you know. And if not, we're going to let you know. It's really that simple. So here's some of the things that we offer. So that was a nice lengthy introduction. One of the structures that we find a lot of people are missing is branding. A lot of us don't have access to really great resources in the areas of, you know, printing and graphic design, that kind of thing. A lot of us start off in our business name as, you know, our last name, Financial Group, which certainly was mine. I got my little binder over here, you know, so it's like, you know, from that standpoint, if you're trying to build an agency and attract people who want to come work with you and grow your business alongside you, unless they share your last name, they might not want to be wearing your last name as a jersey around, you know. So, you know, having an independent brand is really one of those basic structures that really can add value to the ability to attract people into your business, and have them and keep them around for a long time. So we have this little brand in a box thing where we can help you identify a brand and then put it on all kinds of point of sale materials. The thing that's really invaluable about the point of sale materials, guys, is that when you're out there and you've got, you know, a dozen or a couple dozen agents that are out there, you know, talking to people and educating them on what they've got, the last thing in the world you want them to do is be bringing a legal pad around and trying to kind of duplicate what you shared them. You really want them kind of all singing off the same sheet of music. And by having independently branded materials that have your branding on it, and it's all duplicatable stuff, you know exactly what they're working with. And that's key from a compliance and suitability standpoint, is really knowing what your people are talking to people about. So we kind of build all these things out for you. And then we also have like all the basic stuff that you know you need to do, but you might not have done, you know, building out like the anniversary and happy birthday and thank you cards and that kind of stuff. It's just basic stuff that sometimes it just takes somebody to do it for you in order for you to do it. So we've got some things set up for digital marketing as well, helping you really establish a presence with LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We also have kind of a what to say and how to say it, sort of a brand guide. And what that is really just some Word files. You can either print it, you can copy and paste it into an email, really to help you with the right language to engage with new prospects, referrals, existing policy touch points, policy anniversaries, that kind of stuff. So we have a group of logos. We have 30 logos that we built. Every time somebody takes one, we take it off the shelf and we replace it with another one. And so, you know, you just kind of envision your name and your company and with one of these logos, and we can build this whole kind of branding story out for you. So technology, you know, here's the thing about all these things. If you've got a good brand, congratulations. If you've got a great CRM, congratulations. If you've got great staff, congratulations. You know, if you don't, we can provide some value for you. So we don't really care what you've got. Our goal is really to help plug in to the areas that you might be missing or weak, to lock that in to help you get to the next level. So we built a CRM. ProDash is our CRM. We think it's great. It's really specific to the senior market. If you have one and you love it, you got the right one. If you don't have one or you don't love the one you have, you probably need this one. We can work in all the areas that we work in from a service and all these other standpoints with whatever you've got. So we like ProDash. We think it's good. And hopefully you do too. But if you've got one that you like, that's probably the right one. So ours has a dashboard. It's got quoting built into it for MedSup, MAPD, final expense, and dental. The cool thing about that is we've got, you know, your client information in there, your existing policy information in there, your quoting information in there, and we can feed in whatever leads that you've got from your lead vendors in there. So instead of having a lead vendor platform, you know, your client, you know, spreadsheets or files or whatever, and then, you know, having to go to all the carriers for all the different products that you've got sold and then somewhere else for quoting, this has all that stuff in one spot. So we think that's pretty efficient. So the basic CRM is in here. We've also got a cool task board just to kind of help with workflow. That's really key if you're building an agency, to really be able to identify where people are at in terms of the work that they're doing on a daily basis. We do have analytics, which is awesome. Helps you identify, you know, this is our client demographic. So age, gender, and longevity. So the length of time your MedSups have been on the books. As you hopefully know, you know, if your MedSups have been on the books for a period of time, they're going to either reduce their comp by 80 or 90% or go down to zero. So this is a way to help mine your block of business to identify opportunities to go out and generate, you know, retention, upselling, cross-selling. We also have it where you can break it down by product type, carrier, and producer. This is really valuable as well. So you can look at your downline producers and say, hey, this is a dude that, you know, is really only selling Aetna MedSups and he doesn't have any cross-selling, or this lady that we have is only doing MAPDs and she's not doing any hospital indemnity plans. So you can really identify opportunities for new sales by having all your data in one place. You can do some pretty cool things as far as analytics. So, and then as an agency owner, you really want to look at, you know, activity. You want to look at, all right, if I look at my downline, you know, how many of them are getting appointments? How many of them are providing assessments for people? How many of them are submitting apps? How many of them are getting apps approved? Amber, does ProDash allow agent with contracts with several FMOs to input their contracted companies? Yes. Currently, it's not sending apps. I'm not I think what you're referring to is something like Connector, one of those things. We don't have it at this point where we can send apps from it. That's something hopefully in the not too distant future we have, but it's pretty. It allows you to work with different FMOs. What areas of business are most future-proof that is going direct to consumer? Ron, great question. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I'd love to chat with you about it. Thanks. Yes. So yeah. And then let's talk about service. So this is really one of the hallmarks of our program. We provide really white label customer service for people so they can continue to grow their business without having to worry about the reactive service. And by reactive service, I mean the phone calls, emails, and text messages that you get throughout the year from your clients. We take care of that, as well as the retention, upselling, and cross-selling activities for you. So your whole entire business really becomes like it started, which is generating as much new business as you possibly can and bringing on as many new clients as you can. It gets to the point where you do that, and then all of a sudden, all you're doing is working with the existing clients that you have, and most of your time is spent with retention and with reactive service. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, I couldn't get in front of 15 people a week if I wanted to. I'm so busy. Oh my gosh. And all of it is reactive stuff. You're playing defense all day long when you get to the point where you got 400, 500, 600 clients. So this service model really allows you to totally take a step up and really put all of your energy into building out your marketing, building out your recruiting, training, and development plans, really building out your agency by playing offense and knowing that your customers are getting taken care of as good or better than you can. We do that by using your brand. So this is an example of a meet your service team thing that we send out with every email or mail communication. So this in this example would be the you of the company. You know, like this would be you know, Tyler, and this would be Western Marketing, and like these are some actual people on our service team that are taking proactive service with people's accounts right now. So each of these goes out. So what happens is you end up having this this instant scale. We make you instantly a big agency. When your clients start getting these things in the mail and they start saying, wow, you have a service team? Well, I thought you worked out of your house. Like, no, I do, but like I've got this great firm. They partner with us. They're designed to help us get to the next level by taking great care of our clients. It really resonates with people, and it really allows you that time freedom to go out and build your marketing or build you know, your recruiting pipeline. So that's one of those key structures that you're not going to be able to go out and recruit a bunch of people if you're chasing your tail around playing defense all day. You know, you're not going to be able to build an agency if you know, you don't have these things built out. So this service is really what gives you a huge jump. So we have activity tracking, analytics, transparency into the process. So everything we enter into ProDash, or frankly, whatever your CRM is, if you don't have ProDash, we can take over as an admin user on any CRM that we've seen and enter all the notes and everything in there for transparency, so you can see kind of what we're doing with the clients. So we do for MAPDs, we'll pitch them on ancillary, where we're trying to generate additional revenue off of the ancillary stuff. If you don't do that, or you haven't done a great job at it, we'll drive those sales and split that business with you 50-50. Same with life and annuity. If you're not doing that, or you're not contracted, licensed, certified in whatever state you're in to do the life and annuity stuff, we do that as well. We split it 50-50. We're licensed in 50 states with tons of different carriers and stuff. So anything we do that you pay us for in terms of the service fee on med subs and MAPDs, if we replace that business, it gets replaced 100% in your block of business. So we don't want anything of that. That's what you pay us for. Anything we generate in addition to that, we split 50-50. And if you are in that type of business, all we'll do is generate a qualified lead for you. So like Tyler, if you go, hey man, you know, like we're really into the ancillary stuff, we're really great at that, we're not going to write that and split it 50-50 with you. When we generate those opportunities, we're going to send it to you and go, hey, you know, Judy needs a Mutual of Omaha dental vision hearing. We quoted her $50 a month. She wants to do it. Okay, great. You know, if you're not in that business, or you're like, just take it and give me the money, we'll write and just put you on our monthly commission statement. So a lot of people really want to just drive and bring on as many Medicare clients as possible, and they don't want to mess with some of this other stuff. So if you do, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. And then the magic here is during AEP, we hire a ton of people. We will help provide the PDP information, MAPD information on what they have, what their options are, and how that's going to change for the following year. So guys, during AEP, it's a freaking land grab. Okay. You know, every single person that we talk to who's over 65 is a prospect, okay, for everything that we have. But we spend 90% of our time retaining the existing clients that we have. Isn't that awful? I mean, like, I wrote 500 MAPDs this year. Awesome, man. How many of those were existing clients? 495 of them. Great. So you're really busy, but not very productive, you know? So if you could spend all that time bringing on 500 new clients, That would be amazing, right? And then they plug into our service model. You don't have to worry about them ever again. We're going to generate additional revenue. So just think about that for a minute. Think how many MAPDs did you write? How many MEDSUPs did you write? How many of them were you already getting renewals on? Think about that for a minute. You don't have to answer. Put it in the chat if you want. So this is the client experience. And then we've got the consulting side of things. So this is really, once we plug you into our systems and kind of get you foundationally in a position, this is really where we can kind of work with you on building out your marketing strategy, building out your career path, building out your recruiting, training, development thing. We're really trying to create a community of people in the agency builder, top producer, and succession planning sort of modes to get people who are experiencing similar challenges and obstacles to be able to help one another get to the next level. I found it's super lonely out there. When you're the person who's driving the business and trying to build and become successful, and everyone's looking to you for answers, there's not a lot of people you can go to for answers that are doing what you do. So I felt that there wasn't really anywhere that I'd identified that was a senior market agency building, top producer succession planning kind of community. And so that's what we built with this Mogul Maker Consulting. So we've got a book. The Mogul Maker Method is just about done. It's pretty intriguing. You might find some laughs in it. You might find some lessons in it. We can talk about that. We're building out some virtual training sessions, some weekly coaching. We also have quarterly boot camps and annual retreats that we're building with Tyler and the guys at Western Marketing. Again, for those people that are in that same spot where it's, hey, I want to learn from other people that are agency builders on what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and really have that community. So that's some of the stuff that we're building out. So again, the call to action here, we have free consulting call, we have free analysis and recommendation call. You can reach out to your marketer at Western Marketing. You can shoot an email, text, call them, whatever. They'll drive you to our process. But really the goal is to have a conversation with you, see if there's anything we do that could benefit you, and really create that three-legged stool of success with your awesome wholesaler at Western Marketing and your practice and your vision you got for your business, and working with us to help as a catalyst to get you there. So we really appreciate you being on the call, and we look forward to chatting with you about that stuff. Ty, you got anything else?
No, I thought it was a really, really great call today, Josh. So thank you for doing this. Thank you, everybody that was with us. I highly, highly recommend, like Josh said, just do a real quick 30-minute call with him and his team. Find out if any of these services are right for you. I would especially pay attention to the service model thing. I mean, that's probably the number one conversation that I have with my agents is, you've worked your entire life, you've built this great big block of business. And I just come out and ask them, I say, how much time in a week do you think you spend just with service work, servicing your current business? And it's usually anywhere between, 25 to 40 hours a week. And I'm like, well, how do you get anything done? How do you get, new business coming in? And the answer is, well, I work 60 to 70 hours a week, and I'm like, well, there's something wrong here. Let's eliminate that service aspect of it, get you your time back to focus on new business or spending time with your family or going to play golf or whatever it is you want. But let's get some of your time back and really, generate new revenue streams and everything with Josh and his team service model, and go on down the road so you can have a much more fulfilled, happy life. So definitely worth the call. Take note of the number there on the screen. Give them a call as soon as you can. If you do have any questions or you want to talk to us first or something like that, feel free to call us as well. Our number is 800-852-7152, and definitely look forward to speaking with you.
Awesome. Tyler, thank you again. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys, for being on the call. Have an awesome week. Take care.